Have you ever wondered what happens to our bodies after we die? The process is usually quite predictable, but every now and then, a story emerges that challenges everything we think we know. Today, we re-delving into one of the most baffling cases in history. The story of Saint Bernadette Soubirous. Bernadette was a young French girl from Lourdes who claimed to have seen visions of the Virgin Mary in 1858. Her life was humble, and she passed away in 1879 at the young age of 35. She was buried in a damp chapel crypt in Nevers, France, and that, for most people, would be the end of the story. But for Bernadette, it was just the beginning. 30 years later, in 1909, as part of her beatification process, her body was the people who opened her casket were braced for the worst. They expected to find only skeletal remains. Instead, they were met with a sight that left them speechless. Bernadette's body was remarkably intact. Her skin was still present, and she looked as if she had only recently passed away. There was no odor of decay, only the faint scent of flowers. This discovery was so shocking that officials decided to exhume her body a second time, 10 years later in 1919. Once again, the results were the same. She was perfectly preserved. The doctors present were baffled. How could a body, buried in such a humid environment, resist decomposition for 40 years? But the most astonishing examination happened in 1925, a full 46 years after her death. This time, a detailed medical report was prepared by Dr. Conte. He meticulously examined her body, noting the preserved muscles, the flexibility of her arms and legs, and the general state of her organs. What he found most astounding, however, was her liver. He described it as soft and almost normal, which, from a medical standpoint, seemed utterly impossible. The liver is one of the first organs to decompose after death. Yet, here it was, nearly half a century later, in a state he called totally unexpected. Of course, this has sparked a massive debate that continues to this day. On one side, believers see this as a clear miracle, a sign of Bernadette's sainthood. They argue that no scientific explanation can account for such a perfect state of preservation, especially given the damp conditions of her grave. They point to the lack of any embalming or artificial preservation methods used at the time of her death. For them, it is divine intervention, plain and simple. On the other side, skeptics search for a natural explanation. They propose theories like adipocere, a waxy substance that can form on bodies in moist, oxygen-free environments. This process, also known as corpse wax, can saponify the body's fat, leading to a form of natural mummification. They argue that the specific chemical composition of the soil and the sealed casket could have created the perfect conditions for this rare phenomenon to occur. However, even this theory doesn't fully explain the incredible preservation of her internal organs, especially the liver. After the 1925 exhumation, some light wax coverings were applied to Bernadette's face and hands. This wasn't to hide decay, but rather to conceal the slightly darkened skin tone and sunken features that occurred from exposure to air, making her appearance more lifelike for public veneration. Today, the incorruptible body of Saint Bernadette rests in a glass reliquary in the chapel of Saint Gilbert in Nevers, France. Millions of pilgrims and curious visitors travel there every year to see her for themselves. She lies peacefully, looking as if she's merely asleep, a silent testament to a mystery that science has yet to fully solve. Is she a miracle? A saint whose body was protected by a higher power? Or is she a stunning, one in a billion example of a natural, scientific anomaly? The answer probably depends on what you choose to believe. But regardless of the explanation, the story of the girl from Lourdes who defied death remains one of the most compelling and enduring mysteries of all time. What do you think happened to Saint Bernadette? Let me know your theories in the comments below. Thanks for watching. And if you enjoyed this journey into the unknown, don't forget to like and subscribe for more fascinating stories. See you next time.